All right, Butters, we're here. Are you ready?
I'm scared, but I know my country needs me.
This is it, Butters. We have to be strong. We're taking down those goddamn Chinese right now.
They talk about Section 8, Chinese held American debt. I actually don't think this is as big a deal as maybe some other people do. It's only about $1 trillion. What's a trillion? We just spent who knows how many trillions on the pandemic. China is actually the second largest holder of our debt. Japan has overtaken them again. Japan, for decades, were the biggest holder of American debt. And then China took over in the early, mid-2000s. And then since about 2010, China's been unloading the debt. So Japan has taken over the number one spot once again. In total, we have about 6.37 trillion in foreign debt. It's a lot, but it's foreign debt, so I don't think we should be that concerned about it. But I'll go through some of the other details in terms of how this debt is distributed across the rest of the world. All right, let's get on with it. All right, let's talk about a couple graphs that represent major foreign holders of U.S. Treasury securities. This graph here is, I used it because it shows there are a lot of countries that hold United States Treasuries. You have to start from the bottom. This is older chart, so the numbers aren't exactly right, but they're really close. The difference is, as I said earlier, Japan is now the largest holder. It's no longer China. So just switch Japan and China, but essentially the holdings stay for purposes of the graph, basically the same. The third biggest holder is Belgium. Then there's Caribbean bankers, bank centers, oil exporters, Brazil, Switzerland, Taiwan, United Kingdom, Hong Kong, etc. Russia is still pretty high on the list, and they've been dumping American treasuries for more than a decade, probably 2 decades, and they're still probably about 15th on the list, right ahead of Ireland and Luxembourg. So amazing. So that's that one. The second one gives you a better sense. Major foreign holders of U.S. public debt. So that's not just treasuries. That's not treasuries. That's it's treasuries in addition to bonds and so on. You can see China here as 1.09 trillion. Japan has 1.27 trillion. So as I said, Japan overtook China, but not by really that much, a couple hundred billion. Switzerland is right up there, right behind United Kingdom, Brazil, Ireland, and as I said earlier, Luxembourg, which is pretty amazing. So that's that on the debt. All right, here's the highlights from the Treasury Bulletin that comes out, I think every quarter, might be every month, the monthly Treasury Bulletin. Here are the highlights from September 2019, so a little over 6 months ago, I guess. Foreign held debt is 6.78 trillion as of February 2020. As I indicated on the previous slides, Japan holds the most at 1.27 trillion. China holds second at about 1.09 trillion, but they're going down because they're dumping the debt. Our Federal Reserve holds about 8 trillion, which is grossly wrong. That's not even close to what they really hold. They have 2 sets of books. 8 trillion is the public books, but the books they keep in the safe is probably more like 30 or 40 trillion. Mutual funds, 2.17 trillion. State and local governments, including their pension funds, about 1 trillion. Private pension funds, about 750 million. Insurance companies, about 250 million. I'm sorry, 208 billion, about 250 trillion. Private pension funds, about 750 trillion. U.S. savings bonds, 152 billion. And then other holders such as individuals, government-sponsored enterprises, brokers, dealers, banks, bank personnel trust, and estates, corporate and non-corporate businesses, etc. is about $3.68 trillion. So the debt is a problem for us because it's so massive and spread all over the place. It's not, I don't think China holding what they hold is a big problem at all. So anyway, that's a summary on where we stand with respect to debt. Okay, the bottom line, I'm going to just read this. Many people believe that much of the U.S. debt is owed to foreign countries like China and Japan. The truth is, most of it is owed to Social Security and pension funds. This means U.S. citizens, through their retirement money, own most of the national debt. U.S. national debt is the sum of these two federal debt categories. Public debt, the Federal Reserve, held by other countries, mutual funds, etc., and then intra-governmental holdings, which include Social Security, military retirement, Medicare, Medicaid, etc., etc. So that's the summary of where we stand with respect to debt.